And really, I think the key to connection is understanding why we lead. Why do we lead? Is it just because it's my job? Is it something more than that? Is leadership tough? Well, I was sitting at a Starbucks today and finishing my slides, and I heard a coach and a woman who was a manager and one of her employees, and they were having the toughest conversation about performance. I mean, it was one of those brutal, you're not performing and you need to get better. And it was a tough leadership moment, and you could tell it. But I think that the key is, and this is what Viktor Frankl said, you'll maybe some remember, those who have a why can bear almost with any how. You know, he was a Holocaust survivor, and they asked him how he survived, right? And he said, I had a why to survive. And I was able to survive because of my why. I also put up here this picture, a picture of three people, sorry it's blurry, building a cathedral. And it was interesting because you can look at the one guy right here, and when asked, what are you doing? He said, I'm hauling bricks. He's hauling bricks. This one was asked, what are you doing? He's like, I'm building a wall. And then they asked this guy right here, and they said, what are you doing? And he said, I am helping to create the most glorious cathedral that's ever existed in this world. Who has their why? Right? When the days get tough, who's got their why? So I want to think about why we lead and go through some of this. Now, I'll talk about some of the people that I've worked with and some people that have done this before. Joe Ehrmann is a good friend of mine. He used to be a Baltimore Colt. He played in the NFL for 15 years and now has become an advocate of youth sports and how to take youth sports and transform the way we coach and transform culture. As a coach, and we might say, if you asked one of your kids' coaches, right, this would be reasonable. I coach so kids can learn to play football, be better football players. Right? That could be his why. His why, however, is I coach so kids have the opportunity to feel loved. If you read his book, it opens up with guys talking in the huddle to his team, why am I here? Right? To love us, coach. And why are you here? To love each other. That was the football team that he coached. Because he knew that was his why. Pretty powerful as a why as a leader. Another guy I work with runs a company called Communication Electronics. He's the president, family business, third generation. Right? Why does he lead? I lead so we can maximize the opportunities ahead of us. Reasonable reason to lead. We talked about it and we said, what's his why? I lead so people can communicate when it matters most. He provides wireless communication to safety organizations. And if the phones go down, his company's the one that has to be there. So he wants to help people communicate when it matters most, not just for his business, but for also all of his leaders. Otherwise, I work with a guy named Jimmy Page. Not that Jimmy Page, this Jimmy Page. He's an executive coach. I lead to help others lead more effectively. Pretty reasonable, right? How about this one? I lead to ignite heroes is his why. So we got to really think about the why we lead. My wife and I, right? We have to live this stuff. Anne Marie said we try to live it. We put ours together. When we first had our first baby, we put our mission statement together. We want to build a solid foundation for our kids to grow and leave, and on which she and I, can remain. That was it, right? Foundation. Now it's 20 years later, and really what we just say is, hey, we do the best we can. I mean, all those visions can go away at some point, but we do the best we can. Here's a good friend of mine. He's a college roommate, Charlie Godinez, military surgeon. What's his why? I lead so others can reunite soldiers with their families. He's a surgeon. He spent some time in Afghanistan. That was why he did what he did. He suffered greatly over there, but he knew that if he could save kids, they'd be back with their families, and that's why he led. This guy, lawyer friend of mine, he was actually one of my mentors as a lawyer. Some lawyers say, I lead so I can build my billable pyramid, so I can get other people to work for me so I can make more money. His was different. I lead to understand the needs of others. As an attorney, he led me in amazing ways that I never would have gone to. I would never have left. He's the one that helped me decide that I should lead because he understood what my needs were. This guy, Gunnar Beatty, one of my CEOs that he coached, right? His is, I lead to win. And I work with him, and and you know what he came up with? He came up with, I lead to win. So, and it's okay. Right? But what is our whys as we go into this? And here's the thing. I think our whys really are what drives us. And I want to show you a leader right here one of the best leaders I've ever had in my life. Her name's Janine Sterner. I just want to give you the context of the story of how she became a phenomenal leader in my life. This is my wife. This is actually a picture of her that is 4 days after the birth of our fourth child. It was actually Thanksgiving. And we went home that night, and after the fourth child was born, she was in bed with me. She said, "Mark, wake up, my back hurts." And I'm like, "Yeah, okay. Your back hurts, of course. Your breast, Mark, no, my back really hurts." "Oh, yeah, I know. You just gave birth to a kid. Your back." "No, it really hurts. You want me to call 911? She said, "Yes." Here's a woman that gave birth to 4 kids without any drugs. She's saying she needs 911. Something's wrong. So we had the ambulance come and took her downtown, took her to the hospital, and what they discovered is she had something called an aortic dissection. Literally, her aorta had broken open. The medical folks in here might know what that means. I get some head shakes from that. It's bad news. 90% fatality rate. We're like, "Well, should we call the kids down so she can say goodbye?" And they said, "Yeah, call the kids down so she can say goodbye." She went into the operation, and thankfully, they saved her. It was against all odds. 18 hours of surgery, they saved her. However, it did leave her paralyzed from the waist down. So now you can imagine where we were as a family. She spent 3 months in ICU, 3 months in the hospital, 3 months in recovery, and then at rehab, and then 3 months when she came home, she was on fentanyl patches, so drugged out she didn't know what was going on. So basically, they spent about a year in this situation. And that's when this woman came into our lives. And Janine Sterner was one of the finest leaders I ever saw. She organized a group of women, and they aggregated together. And their why was, of course, how do we go about, right? And she said, "I want to express my faith in all I do." And she believed, love thy neighbor. And she just gathered everyone around, and it was amazing what happened. Now, we were a family. Imagine this. 6, 4, 2, and 4-day-old at home. We never went without a meal. She literally created a schedule that someone was with my wife for an entire year, 24 hours a day. She had people giving their time up to be in the hospital, so my wife never had to be alone in the hospital. She was the most incredible leader that aggregated people. She had a huge why, and she was able to make this happen for us.